This is the book of Matthew, chapter 20. It's lucky. Matthew chapter 19. And the point is verse 26, but I'm going to start at 25, and it reads, When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Yahushua beheld them and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with the Most High all things are possible. I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, all glory to Kol Haloyim La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem HaKodash. I want to say double honors to the elders and to the apostles that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and a freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Say shalom to the Akim and the Akwat after listening and learning, Lord, willingly. This is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. To brother Yahweh, I met you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired. Yesterday I did a video. I believe it was yesterday. It's like one of my early morning lessons. I usually try to do a lesson, to start the day off, and I may do one on like one of my breaks at work. It's pretty much when the Spirit hit me, but I try to always get that one in the morning, before I do anything else, as far as even doing the, making my daily bread. And, it's a spiritual lesson because it went into how a father pretty much, raped, and I think he killed his daughter, which was like, I think she was a week old or something like that. We hearing about horrible things happen every day. Scriptures talk about how judgment, the Lord judge of every day, roughly paraphrased. But I don't know what was different about this particular article. I mean, of course, you'd be like, well, damn, no matter how hard and the Lord is creating us, and like I've seen a lot of fucked up shit, and I'm sure a lot of brothers have, ain't nobody that wet behind their ears. I know we've all haven't experienced everything, like, every brother, that's why it's a body. Everybody is made up and unique in their own way. But it was just something about that particular article, like I said, because that's what, I normally don't do that, but scripturally, we supposed to do that. The Lord is a judge power. So if he give you righteousness, he is wickedness. And, if he give you death, he give you life. So, we got to be balanced. I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, have to be balanced in all things. The scriptures talk about in the Proverbs chapter 11 about false balance is abomination to the Lord. So, I guess probably pretty much, you hearing and reading about, because a lot of brothers do videos on judgment, and I do as well. But, as I'm listening to brothers do these videos, you're hearing about these more bizarre and horrific judgments that's going out, and it just really, especially with that child, because I was just thinking, like, this man did this to his own child, and his reasoning behind it was because he didn't want to be stuck watching the child. So if he could do this, he raped and I believe murdered his own child. So if he could do that to his own child, what do you think he'd do to, somebody he doesn't know? Somebody that he feels is a threat, somebody that he feels is a victim, And the thing about it is, in that day of Jacob's trouble, which is actually in the scriptures, while people trying to act like if they don't see it or if they don't mention it, they're not going to manifest it. You just going to manifest. It ain't about us manifesting, but the scriptures talk about the power of the tongue. But at the end of the day, this was all preordained by the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua, these things. So you don't have to, like the elder, I was listening to the elder, he said, the positive vibe Israelites. You know what I mean? Like the scriptures talk about the straight gate. You know what I mean? You going to earn this. I remember when I was trying to earn the right to be a nigga, you know what I mean? Like you got elders say you'll take the time when you try to deal with one of these buckethead bitches, or when you literally try to go get high, do some wickedness, you know what I mean? Like you made time and fit that shit in, but you can't fit in the Lord. Well, the Lord gonna fit you in a specific situation where you go call on him and he ain't gonna hear you. That's why the scriptures talk about storing up your treasures in heaven. And I truly believe that when you doing the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the Lord actually acknowledges that. Because I've seen brothers go through, if they, foolishly did something, or if it was just something that happened out the blue, the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the Lord have those brothers be delivered from it. I could count on numerous occasions I witnessed for myself, speaking about my walk as well as other brothers. Like I've been with brothers and certain things happen and you like, damn, you know what I mean? Where Jake might have been in the wrong. And the Lord literally, like, I'm talking about, I could name a few. So call Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua for mercy. The scriptures also say, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, remember mercy in thy wrath, because the Lord's wrath is coming. But, you know, this is a more positive, uplifting lesson, Lord will, because, again, it just made me think about that guy doing that to his own child, and that's the spirit the Lord's going to have on these individuals. The scriptures talk about spirits created for vengeance in the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. So it reads, Ohio man, that's what kind of made, because I was going to do it on a whole totally different, not subject, on a different individual. Pretty much it was a article, she's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It was the female that fell out of a plane that supposed to fell apart, and she fell from the highest height and lived. But when you get to going into the numbers and reading her name, you know, you got to remember certain numbers are Masonic. You know, it's a reason why the Freemasons pretty much use that number 33. So, you know, that's a sacred number to them. But then when you take the time to think about it, Yahweh Shah's ministry ended at 33. So Yahweh Shah was the most elevated individual on the planet. And, you know, they consider themselves, once they reach the 33rd degree level. Like I heard 50 Cent saying that shit one time, and I've been trying to find this clip and cannot find it. You know, I remember he just pretty much, what do they call that? They call it, the elder talk about what IUIC and the church blissets. That's what 50 Cent had did to BET, Black Entertainment Television. And he just supposed to showed up unannounced. And because he was 50 Cent, they allowed him to do it. And he just was walking. Now, that probably was staged, just like with the Ryan Garcia thing where he was drinking inside the, the weigh-in. And I was like, you can see his stage right then. Because even Mayweather's uncle said that. He said, first of all, y'all should have caught something. He said, you can't just drink in here. The fuck? Showing you how slow the people is. You know, and I'm naive to certain things, but I ain't naive to a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? It's just, that may have been a humiliation ritual. Brother was telling me that probably was a humiliation ritual. Well, I don't know who got humiliated more, Ryan Garcia or Haney. Hey, but they gonna get big money for that when they run it back. Hopefully we not here by the time they try to do that shit. God, damn. You know what I'm saying? But Salaki, I'm a little bit all over the place. So the point of me talking about the female, she fell, but they're talking about she descended from 33,000 feet in the air, and she's in the Guinness Book of World Records. So I was like, I'm gonna play it a little bit safer and just do this because I've been trying to find articles on people that miraculously lived or died. I mean, and just showing you the power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, because we serve a God of miracles. Matter of fact, let me get this. This is the book of Psalm chapter 77. And I'm going to start at verse 13. Thy way, O power, is in the sanctuary, who is so great a power as our power. I'm going to read it in NLT. O power, your ways are holy. Is there any God as mighty as you? It tells you in the book of Psalms that the gods of the other nation are idols. They have no true power because all spirits belong to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, the Father of spirits. It tells you that in the book of Hebrews. Verse 14, thou art the power that doest wonders. Thou hast declared thy strength among the people. You are the God of great wonders. You demonstrate your awesome power among the nations. And, he's doing it right now with the different calamities that he's bringing forth to the earth. They talking about this monster storm. I was going to do something on the flood. All these are acts of God, the Most High, Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. But then, how many different miracles, the things that science cannot explain that have taken place, that take place. If that's a real incident, which, I have enough faith that the Lord could have done that. It's just like I said again, I'm listening to the numbers, and sometimes they do certain things, and like I was listening to the elder, he's talking about right now the new thing in the news is they done found the Ark of the Covenant. But the elder said out of his mouth, they have done that before, if I'm not mistaken. Which we all know, if studious in the scriptures, that they ain't going to be able to find the Ark of the Covenant. Just like they aren't going to be able to get outside outside the Van Allen belt. They haven't really, went through the heavens like they, you know what I mean? Because these people are big ass liars, they're serpents, they're devils, deceivers. Uh, Another one. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, and verse 20. Thou shalt fear the Lord thy power, him shalt thou serve, and to him shalt thou cleave, and swear by his name. Now, this is going in regards to the Israelites, because we have one power, And the scriptures tell you in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, the whole duty of man is to fear the Most High and keep his commandments. So, Israelite man, his whole duty, his whole purpose of being upon the earth is to, worship, serve, or fear, worship, and serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua to the best of his ability. He is thy praise, and he is thy power that have done for thee these great and terrible things which thy eyes have seen. And that's pretty much going into when Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua delivered the nation of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Which the Lord is coming to deliver the children of Israel for a second time. All praise be to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua for even giving us this truth. Because again, if you sit back and meditate, I could only speak for myself first and foremost, is pretty much I know from where the Lord brought me from, just being through, what I mean? Like when I really sit back and debate, and then the craziest part to show you how the Lord really deceives you, I'm thinking I'm not through though. In my mind, I remember I knew this individual, his confidence was such a high level, but this nigga was a true demon. Now the thing is, he was literally handicapped, like he would be considered handicapped. But I met his children. His children weren't. Also, like he had he didn't have fully functioning hands. His hands came out deformed. I don't know what that's called, but pretty much he was able to use a wrench, write with a pencil. He was able to do all these different things. So his confidence was on a whole different level. But this man was a true demon. He said he knew how to play the piano. He could ride a motorcycle. I can't ride a motorcycle, and I got two fully functioning hands. And this demon has a lot to do with my testimony, but I ain't gonna go any further. So the Lord is doing great things now because, again, he's bringing us back to remembrance. But he's doing terrible things on the earth right now as well. And for those that's meant to pretty much get it, they'll pretty much repent and come back to the law, statutes, commandments of their power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And for those that are not meant to get it, they won't. And pretty much they'll be sealed to be destroyed. This is the book of Job, chapter 5, and the point is verse 9. I'm going to start at verse 8. I will seek unto the Most High, and unto the Most High will I commit my cause, which doeth great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, who giveth rain upon the earth and sendeth waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. Which, who are in a low position right now? So-called blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, West Indians, and Haitians, God's true chosen people, the Israelites. We are in a low position, And again, it's nothing wrong with confidence, because confidence go back to pretty much like hope and faith. That's synonymous. But, we can't be pretty much, it's a thin line between pride and confidence. Put it like that, I was listening to a Christian pastor today, and I was listening to. He kept on going back to. He was like, "Praise be to God. Praise be to God." I don't know if he was programmed to do that, because I can see, when you great orators, they, it's techniques to speaking and captivating the minds of people. They got classes, and it's classes on shit like that. You know what I mean? But you got some people that's naturally talented to do that. It's like, for instance, selling drugs. Not to be so, based and use something like that. But the truth of the matter is that's true. Like, you would think like, oh, well, you could just sell the product because people want it. No, that's not necessarily true. You know, just like certain women want certain men because they're charismatic or they're spirit or, you know, their physique or whatever the case may be. It's certain things with like, that's why certain people will try to go after, like, say for instance, your brother sold drugs, but your brother went to jail. Now the plug that was putting your brother on see you. He may try to come and approach you because that's like in the blood. Like, everybody isn't great salesmen. See, you know, I remember a particular brother will always say he's the closer and how he worked and did jobs selling shit. You know, I remember, well, I ain't going to incriminate myself. Although the statute of limitations is well over with, but we ain't going to do it. I'm going to do a Cameron. I was listening to Cameron, you know, and Cameron, that's a nigga. I think he had something to do with P. Diddy too, because P. Diddy, you never know, was putting a lot of people on too. And it's a particular comedian from New York that pretty much made a joke about that. You know, a lot of people was pointing the finger at Cameron, exposing him, because when P. Diddy got locked up, Cameron was doing an interview on, I think, CNN, and pretty much they got to asking him questions about P. Diddy. Now, some people be like, oh, he did some, you know, like a smart nigga move. I ain't got nothing to do with me. And he basically canceled the interview. But a lot of people pointed certain shit out. And you'll be surprised how many shows pretty much was started through P. Diddy. Like Drink Champs and Noriega. Noriega used to be with P. Diddy a lot. It was videos where it'd be 6 to 7 people from Little Bow Wow to Noriega, and all of them be at the house. And this nigga did the weirdest shit. Not to Salakia, just Spirit just want me to say this. This nigga did the weirdest shit. He took a piece of corn and took gravy and poured the gravy over the corn and was like, yeah, you got to eat the corn like this. And niggas looking at him, and I'm looking at him like, who eat their corn like that? So what is you really? Yeah. And then now you got this show, like, you be surprised what a nigga sell his soul for. In the spirit of the elder talking about, you know, they took the bag. Because a lot of niggas gonna take the bag. A lot of niggas, it's gonna, and the thing is, the Lord is in the exposing season right now. Niggas getting exposed. Salakia. Salakia, bear with me for a second. So it says, Ohio man declared dead comes back to life. Yeah. I probably won't play the video. I'll just probably read it. It says, Ohio man pronounced dead. Tony Yale comes back to life. Doctors can't explain why Tony Hill's heart started beating after having stopped for 45 minutes. That's a miracle. Because showing you that man's wisdom is not to be exalted like that. You know, the scriptures talk about, you know, the Lord, where do you think the wisdom and knowledge comes from? You know, scriptures tell you in the book of Daniel that knowledge shall be increased in the last days. And that's how we know we're living in the last days. That's another indicator, because look how fast knowledge is pretty much being attained, you know, in this day and age. You know, you have a tool in your hand right now. We all utilize it, which is the cell phone, which is the unicorn, which is the internet, you know, and you can pretty much look up anything you want. And, you know, and you got certain people that embrace the technology and certain people that try to run from it, you know, like the chat GPT and whatnot. I haven't utilized that yet, but, you know, the spirit ain't been on me to use it. I remember listening to an elder. He was like, he was, you know, in the spirit debating on using it or not. And then he basically went and used it. You know what I mean? You know, you got to understand everything has a balance. So, you know, just like the witches and warlocks use herbs and gemstones for left hand means, they don't make the tools wicked. It's just, you know, like the Lord said in the book of Isaiah chapter 45, I create darkness, I create light. The Lord create good and evil. You know, I, the Lord, do all these things. Roughly paraphrase. So it reads, when 17-year-old Lawrence Yale learned his father was dead earlier this month at Carrington Medical Center in Ohio, he ran down the hall to see nurses around his father's body. They weren't trying to revive him anymore. Distraught, Lawrence pointed and shouted, Dad, you're not going to die today. Moments later, Anthony Yale's heart monitor showed signs of life. So he said that he called out. Now, you know, now again, the Lord could just do what he want, just to show, because the Lord is always showing, that he exists. I remember brothers always talking about, like, we'd be talking about something at camp, and then we'd be then prophesied something we said, because we'll say something and then something I remember brothers was talking about dogs attacking people in the day of Jacob's trouble with all hell break loose and all that, and then somebody had walked past with some dogs. Or we'd be speaking on something and then the bus would ride past with a billboard on the bus saying what we was just talking about. I remember when DMX was alive still, and brothers was downtown. I wasn't even a part of the camp, I think, or if I was just new to the camp. But we was talking about this place burning, and then that poster with DMX had where he had the album "Hell Is Hot" or "Hell Is Dark and Hot" or something like that. I'm butchering it, Salakia. I'm not about to look it up, but basically his bus rolled past with that on there. We was just talking about how the nuclear fire is gonna burn this place up. So the Lord is always speaking. So he could have did that just to show his power. Because I'm pretty sure that dumbfounded those doctors, which they don't believe in Yahweh Shem Yahushua. When you go into the Hippocratic oath, like I've seen the Masonic symbolism and shit in certain hospitals. If I had the power, I wouldn't even let my children be born in the hospital. And they got an issue with that. I forgot what that's called, where you could pretty much have I forgot what they call, but it's pretty much like a person, a woman that's used to like giving births. It's not a nursemaid, and it's not a surrogate. I forgot. It's at the tip of my tongue. But long story short, it was a couple that just did that. They pretty much had it where they they went through the proper procedures to basically have the wife give birth at home, and somebody, I don't know if the doctor changed their mind or somebody higher up in the hospital got involved and pretty much had the authorities come, you know what I mean, because they didn't want to deal with none of the doctor's medications and whatnot. So they making it, I mean, like they should pretty much showing you have no freedom. Salaki. It says, moments later, Anthony Yale's heart monitor showed signs of life. Dr. Rajad Nazir, his cardiologist at Carrington Medical Center, told ABC News it wasn't a regular heartbeat, but once or twice a minute, the monitor would pick up tiny electrical movements. Wow, that's deep. So it wasn't even a regular beat. As if the Lord, because your heart beats so many times a minute. They said it was how many? Once or twice a minute. The monitor would pick up tiny electrical movements. When I looked at the electrical activity, I was surprised, Nazir said. I thought we better make another effort to revive him. So based on them seeing that his heart started beating again, that's what made them literally try to revive him again. Nazir gave one of Yale's hanging medicine bags a squeeze to restore his blood pressure, and the team began working on him again. Very slowly, the heart rate was picking up, Nazir said. That was more than a week ago. On August 5th, doctors thought Yale, a 37-year-old diesel mechanic, would need a heart transplant or be in a vegetative state the rest of his life. But he's home resting and seems fine. That's spiritual. And that's what we're going to need, these different things to understand and realize in the times of Jacob's trouble, to understand our power can make what them Christians say, our power can make a way when it doesn't seem like a way. And you got to understand, our Lord likes to put on a show. Our power like to put on a show. Think about that. And if this Exodus is going to be more, or it's going to top or be exalted over the deliverance of ancient Egypt, just imagine how many close calls or how dramatic it's going to be. So don't fear, you know what I mean? Again, I don't know the mind of the Lord, but sometimes the Lord had a spirit on us when we say things that actually come to pass. Call Loyim La Yahweh Shem Yahushua, all praise to be to Yahweh Shem Yahushua for that. Because again, I sit back and I think about it, I'm like, damn, do you know where I could be? Even when I was offered, that temptation, I just can feel the wickedness on that shit though. I'm like, hell no, you know what I mean? And then it's a difference of when everybody know, or you might not know, you might think I'm doing something, but you don't know what I'm doing. You know, you never, the scriptures say, never trust thine enemy. I knew that before I even got into the scriptures. Call lawyer and like, how about Shemi Shah for giving me common sense? You know. So, you know, I'm going to probably leave it there with that article. If you want to check it out, it's out of ABC News. And it says, Ohio man declared dead, comes back to life. And, you know, I'm going to start getting into that, you know, because those are when you're in a low spirit, you know, doing certain things can revive you. I was listening to the elder, and he was going into certain brothers' lessons and channels. Because, you know, again, you can feel, you know, I listened to one elder, he was like, you can't deny the fact that the spirit is working through GMS. Salaki. Yeah. And you can, I mean, you know, the naysayers and the demons and the 2/3, they can deny it, but, you know, somebody that the Lord dealing with, they won't ever deny that. You know, and the scriptures tell you, I quote it all the time, you know, at the end of the day, all things work to the good for those that love him and are called according to his purpose. Everything's the will of the Lord. The elders constantly says that. He said, you know, man's goings is of the Lord. How can a man know his own way? What am I getting? This is the book of Psalms chapter 37, you know, and verse. I came across this scripture listening to the elder brothers lesson yesterday. This is Psalms 37 and verse 39. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. He is their strength in the time of trouble, which there will be a time of Jacob's trouble. The scriptures always constantly talk about trusting in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai with all thine heart and leaning not on your own understanding. Yeah. You know, you got to understand the seasons. I remember a female told me about seasons. You know, and it was scriptural too. You know, the Lord bring people in your life and then take them away. You know, again, a hard test to some individuals in this truth is the Lord sometimes first attack you. Well, I know a lot of brothers lost women in this truth. You know, and that when you take time to think about it, it hurt at the time. But when you think about it, it's like it's really like a easy thing. Then when you take time to think about it, you know, we went off with the Lord, so the Lord just kind of like giving us a taste of our own medicine. We was disobedient to the Lord, so then the Lord put that spirit on her to start bucking up it. You know what I mean? What fucked me up is because my eyes was into the Bible, and we both love reading and learning stuff. So when the Lord literally was doing it, I'm like, what's going on? You know, not really fully understanding or grasping, you know, the Lord, everything. That proves right there that everybody ain't gonna make it. The Lord don't love everybody. Because if the Lord loved everybody, everybody would get the same message. No, it's one way. Fuck what Oprah say about there's many ways to the Most High God. No, that's not true. It's one way, the straight gate. And it's one power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Verse 40, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. You know, so ultimately, the Lord is going to save and protect those that trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. What just happened? This is the book of Proverbs chapter 29 and the point is verse 25. I got this from the elder bro too. It says, the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua shall be safe. And that's a good precept because you can line that up with what's that, Jeremiah chapter 17, because it talks about cursed be the man that trusteth in man, but when you go into verse 7, it talks about blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So that's a good precept. I wonder if I can highlight this. I would love to. Doesn't look like I'm not going to be able to. Take a picture of that thing. Well, I got it written down. And, you know, the scriptures talk about, you know, just having that faith. And I told you, you know, through research, you go into faith, hope, and confidence are all synonymous, you know. Scripture talk about having faith as a mustard seed, and when you go into a mustard seed, it's a very small seed, but some of the biggest trees come from that. This is the book of Matthew chapter 21 and verse 21. And it reads, Yahushua answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if ye have faith and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. Verse 22, and all these things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. And again, that's why the Lord expects you to be constantly praying onto him. And that's something that I know personally that I need to work on. And I don't even want to sound proud or whatnot. The Lord has taken me through so much. I literally know the Lord gonna come through. But the Lord still wants you begging. That's one thing one of the elder apostles said the first thing he does when he wakes up. You can watch these heathen, the Muslims. It's a Islamic gas station right around the corner, and every day at a particular time, he shuts and locks that door because he's going to do his prayer. So if they worshiping a false idol, how much more so, the men that the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua called into this truth, how much more so should we be praying? Because again, we know we got the truth. Again, I tend to think about, I know the Lord gonna come through. I don't know exactly when, but I have full faith he's gonna come through. But again, the Lord wants you begging. I remember the particular beloved elder saying about how the Lord, it's an offense to the Lord when you're not calling on him. Verse 22. Oh, I read that already. Yeah, so all things can be done through him when you believe in, roughly paraphrase. So I'm going to end it with this. This is the book of Philippians chapter 4. And the point is verse 13. And I could do all things through Mashiach, which strengthened me. So, those that have that full-hearted assurance and faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, going to be able to, and the Lord dealing with, are going to be able to perform miracles. You got to think about it. We watching the Lord put the spirit on Esau, Edom to pretty much, take away, Revelation chapter 12, being nourished by the dragon for time and times, or time and times. So I know I butchered that, but the point being, so who you gonna rely on unless you're gonna bow to the system? We gotta put, you're gonna have to. I used the word the other day. I'm not saying I coined it. I ain't coined none of this English shit. You know what I'm saying? But then again, like. We do come up with our little catchphrases and say our little, the way we say it and put our spin on it. But, we're going to have natural faith in the times coming. So those that truly wholeheartedly believe, they're going to be doing miracles because, they're going to, the Lord, you're going to have to believe these things. Because if you can't, and again, like I said, brothers can attest, the thing is, a lot of brothers really practice stoicism. So they don't go into, what has all taken place or what they've seen or what they're going through. You got a lot of brothers that have actually went back to the spiritual realm but stayed in the faith. And they probably dealing with serious medical conditions. I can't think of that one brother's name, and it's on the tip of my tongue. The one brother that pretty much was from Florida. I think his name was Daniela. I think he was a Levite, if I'm not mistaken. I got that brother video, and I know it was a young brother in the camp that he the one put it in the group chat because that was a powerful video to him. And I've never met that brother. That video is still powerful to this day because the Lord put the spirit on him to inflict himself, and then he was in the hospital preaching. I think he healed. The Lord healed him for a second, and then it came back. That was a brother with a high level of faith. And you're going to need, faith on levels like that for the times to come. So I'm going to reread this again. Philippians 4 and verse 13. I can do all things through Mashiach, which strengthen me. And you got to wholeheartedly believe that. So if you're so-called black, Hispanic, because the devil about to come in as a flood, and you can feel it, see it, all that. People so stupid, they thinking because Elon Musk talking about stepping down, that he done did what he needed to do. That technology is pushed in through their systems. They think they done did some shit. Ain't nothing about to slow this train, because this is a prophecy train. So, Trump, that's why they're making a statement about, he's still going to be a friend to the administration. And, I forgot how they worded it, but pretty much they're like, he may be stepping down, but he's still going to be a friend to the Trump administration. And an advisor, I think. So you ain't stopped nothing. He just, they're just giving you some eye candy. You better get what the elders been pushing right as of lately, better get your house in order. That's in the scriptures. Yeah. So with that, if you're so-called black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, the statutes, and to the commandments of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to call Loyim La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaKodash. I say double honors to the elders and to the apostles that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Now more so than ever, I say shalom to the Akim and the Akwat out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad and land of the other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth to you. I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly, I say shalom, shalom. I say Kwam Yasharallah. I say Mawaf Wababar. Shalom. Kwam Yasharallah.